Hey everybody, welcome to Sharron's Take.
Hi.
I'm Sharron.
I'm John.
That's an inside joke. Alright, anyways, welcome. And we're about to do the video that I said that we would film maybe about, what, like 6 months ago. Our last video that we did for our real couple talk, we were talking about sex and kids and marriage and all that good stuff. So I said I was going to follow it with like a short video about being an interracial couple and things that we go through and face and all that jazz. So let's get started. I got my trusty little book. All right, so I kind of summed up a lot of the questions that I've gotten, and even like certain comments, especially early on when we first started YouTube, and I never kind of compiled it. So now I did, and I tried to sum it up into 4 types of sections, I guess you would call it. So first off, culturally, if you don't know, I can't tell, I'm black.
And so am I.
Shut up.
And I am Filipino and white.
Okay, so you would tell like your...
Okay, well, I'm Filipino.
No, your mom is...
Oh, my mom is Filipino.
Yeah.
And my dad is white.
And his dad's white. And so my parents are just both black. Now there's some other stuff running in there for the both of us. You know how, because no one's pure anything.
Yeah.
But as far as concentration level, they're black. So we're just going with that, but yeah. So, and like you've seen our kids on the channel, so they're obviously black, white, and Filipino. Okay, so the one thing that we were going to talk about first is cultural differences, you know.
Well, let me just say it. Do they know your last name?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Okay, so Lopez, so just in case anybody's wondering.
Yeah.
I'm white, but my dad, he's half Spanish. So his father was Spanish, so that's where we get Lopez from.
Yeah.
So he was Spanish, but he grew up in Cuba.
Yeah.
So, and then my grandmother was a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so it's like...
Eastern European.
But yes, my last name is Lopez. I don't just go by Sharron, but now y'all know all my business. Usually because of the Lopez, people think I have Spanish in me, and I'm like, whatever. Okay, so you want to talk about your culture differences? Like, I guess you want to talk about your Filipino culture, or?
Well, okay, you know, as far as like the Filipino, because my dad's a truck driver, so he was always on the road. So pretty much it was my mom a lot of the time, you know, raising us and bringing us to parties and doing events and stuff. So we hung out with the Filipino side a lot more. And plus my Filipino side is bigger. My family is bigger. So as far as cultural differences, you know, it's funny because I've heard a lot of times from different people, they say that Filipinos are like the black people of like the Pacific, just because a lot of they do have a lot of actual cultural similarities.
Yeah, we do.
You know, as far as food and you know, like just, you know, for the most part being like pretty outgoing, outspoken, stuff like that. Comparatively speaking to, you know, other, I guess, Asian cultures.
Like, I would say like a difference I've noticed is how we approach issues.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say honestly, like in my culture, and now it's not I can't speak for all black people, but I would say like for the majority in the black culture, you tend to be more outspoken and direct with things.
And in my culture, the majority, I would say, I guess you could say, they're a little bit more, what's the word?
I would say indirect.
Yeah, maybe indirect, but then also a little bit more, I guess not as...
Reserved?
Yeah, reserved. That's a good
Reserved
word.
would be
a little bit more reserved, you know, not necessarily...
Yeah.
Like with my family, I wouldn't necessarily, you know, we didn't get into a lot of fights, like verbally and, you know, out loud, but we would be mad at each other. We just wouldn't really discuss it.
Definitely. Like, I can see that, how that has, you know, shown up in our relationship, because like how we grew up is when we were angry, we fought. And you pretty much fought and you kind of got it over with. So you knew when somebody was mad. So when we first got married, if he did something that bothered me, I'm like, I'm gonna tell you about it, you know?
And I wasn't used to that, so I would get mad that she would always, I would say she was nagging at me, because in my culture, we would just kind of like, just keep it inside.
Yeah, but see, and
he would fester, and
it would fester, and then he would eventually blow up.
Right.
But I'm just like, if you're mad, just be mad, and then let me know what you're mad about so we can work on it. But it's just different. And then he'd be like, you ain't always gotta tell me when you're mad. But I was like, no, I'm gonna cross that T and dot that I. You need to know what you did. But I'm different now, though.
Yeah, but some of that's also not just a cultural thing. Some of that's just like a gender thing.
A gender thing.
Guys tend to keep it in a little bit more. And,
I'll give you that. But I mean, that's definitely, but when you talk about like a lot of things culturally, it's weird because, like you said, there's a lot of similarities, but I kind of, after a while, when you're in an interracial relationship, you forget that you're in one. Yeah. And I forget all the time until someone tells me, like if they see my children and they go, oh, are they mixed? And what are they mixed with? Or I forget sometimes because like when I look at him, I just see John. Yeah. I don't necessarily, it's just weird, I forget. So, there are some things I noticed, maybe if I'm in certain environments, but it's usually because someone else has triggered that or, highlighted that for me.
And with me, it's a little bit different for me because I'm actually like, I guess you could say, whatever, a second generation.
Yeah.
Like my mom and my dad were, different races. So like I've grown up with that my whole life. Mm-hmm. Like not being able to see, kind of being colorblind, because I would go places and I wouldn't even realize it, not till I got a little bit older, that people were saying, oh, so your parents are, you're mixed because your parents are different, different races.
It's like you forget.
And then, well, not forget, I didn't know for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you're a kid growing up, and I'm sure it's the same for our kids, like if you were to sit there and call our kids mixed to them right now, James would be like, huh? I don't get it,
He only sees shade.
Right, yeah, he'll say like colors.
Shade.
He'll say like.
And he still thinks I'm white.
Right. So. And he'll say like brown or peach or things like that, because he doesn't understand. So I grew up that way too.
Yeah. But okay, so as far as our relationship, what I would say is the differences. What really came down to communication. He grew up communicating a different way. So when there were issues, you didn't really bring them up. Yeah. With mine, when there were issues, you highlighted them. Yeah. So the one thing I've learned being in an interracial relationship is I had to learn about his culture and how they deal with things and how they perceive things, and he had to learn about mine. And so like I've grown a lot because it's cool. I've grown. I feel like in my character because it's not just because of John, because I grew up in an area of Houston where it's very diverse. So it was very easy for me to be okay dating someone different, but culturally, I was able to really appreciate his culture and see the beauty in it instead of just being like, I guess ignorant about it. So there's a lot of things that his culture does that I like, and I really like and I appreciate. And I don't know if you feel the same way.
Well, no, there's benefits. Well, we were talking about, the communication difference.
Yeah.
There's benefits because as I've been around hers, I've assimilated some of the ways and stuff. So it's like, I used to be more, like she said, more reserved, quiet, and I would just blow up, because things would fester. Yeah. But from, at least being around like her family and stuff, I've actually learned to be more vocal. And even though, it's funny, because even though I used to think it was such a bad thing to be vocal, I always grew up, you always put your family first, and they're always family no matter what. No matter what they do, they're always family. You don't ever say anything bad to them or about them, definitely about them to others. But I learned that if I would have stayed on the same track and wasn't open about my feelings and what I think is, what I think, then I don't think that I would have developed as good of a relationship with them. Because it's like one thing just to see them as family and that's the reason why you love them, as opposed to actually having a relationship with them and communicating so that you can actually like grow in that relationship more and actually cherish it more because you communicate more.
Yeah. So and then the last one, so we kind of talked about like, you know, obviously what our cultures are, the differences and the benefits. So there's a lot of people out there who were asking about advice, you know, for being in an interracial relationship and need like wisdom. So do you have any like point? You can have a point or?
I mean, it's gonna sound so cliche, but like I've always grown up kind of looking at this way. It's like I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. Don't look at color. I mean, I just look at somebody for who they are. You know, I look at their characteristics, their attributes, how they treat me. You know, what kind of person they are. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to overlook that because there's always going to be like, you know, inequalities and, you know, stuff like in this world. And that'll never end. But you know, if you can like look at a person, and my, I guess, suggestion or advice would be, don't judge a book by its cover. Get to know somebody. Talk to them, even if it's for a little bit before you judge them. But that's why I don't like sit here and say, oh, I'm gonna like you because you're the same race as me, because
I see your point. You're saying like, you know, people who will only date their race, like that type of stuff.
Or hang out with,
definitely. I think like I agree with John, and that would be mine too. Is you have to look at the person as a person.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to see their color, but you know, if you see the differences or their culture, true too, because you can actually be the same color in different culture. But you also have to learn how to embrace the differences, and that's, you know, something that will bond you and bring you together. You have to do that in life, period, whether you're dating a person or not, even like in friendship if they have a different culture. So that would definitely be mine, is be open-minded, you know.
Try new things.
And try
different
things. Try new things. You know, because really, when it all boils down to it, it's not really even about that. It's about the person. Like, do I really click and get along with this person? Is this person for me? Not about all, in my opinion, all that superficial stuff like skin color and culture. Things. It comes down to that person. Is that a good guy? Is that a good girl? So that's, I mean, that would be mine. That's what it comes to, bottom line. And you have to be prepared for people who are still ignorant. You know, I will say that, because it doesn't matter. You know, I'm not going to really talk about it that much on this video, but I will say is in my culture, there are people who are ignorant and they'll look at me like a traitor because I'm dating John. You know, it's outside of my race. I don't know if he gets that, but I get like dirty looks and things like that. And so you have to be prepared for the people who are still out there that are ignorant, and learn how to just kind of roll with it and not let it like affect you negatively, because there are people out there like that. So I'm like, what? No, so I mean, that would be it. And so I don't have really too much to say about that, but you know, that's just kind of what we've gone through, what we've learned being together, because we've been married for eight years. 8 years. We've been married since 2007.
We've been dating,
for longer than that.
15. So, I mean, together for like 15, I guess.
So, all right, guys. That's it. If you guys have any comments or suggestions for maybe a next video, topics and things like that, please leave a comment below, and we will be sure to address it and get to it. And thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe. Help us out. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
For the both of us, you know how, because no one's pure anything. But as far as concentration level, they're black. So we're just going with that. But yeah. So, and like you've seen our kids on the channel, so they're obviously black, white, and Filipino. Okay, so the one thing that we were going to talk about first is cultural differences. You know.
Well, let me just say it. Do they know your last name?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Okay, so Lopez, so just in case anybody's wondering. I'm white, but my dad, he's half Spanish. So his father was Spanish, so that's where we get Lopez from. So he was Spanish, but he grew up in Cuba. So, and then my grandmother was a bunch of stuff.
So it's like
Eastern European.
But yes, my last name is Lopez. I don't just go by Sharron, but now
similarities.
We do.
You know, as far as food and you know, like just, you know, for the most part being like pretty outgoing, outspoken, stuff like that. Comparatively speaking to, you know, other, I guess, Asian cultures.
Like, I would say like a difference I've noticed is how we approach issues.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say honestly, like in my culture, and now it's not I can't speak for all black people, but I would say like for the majority in the black culture, you tend to be more outspoken and direct with things.
And in my culture, the majority, I would say, I guess you could say, they're a little bit more, what's the word?
I would say indirect.
Yeah, maybe indirect, but then also a little bit more, I guess not as...
Reserved?
Yeah, reserved, that's a good word.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sharron's Take.
Hi.
I'm Sharron.
I'm Joe.
That's an inside joke. Alright, anyways, welcome. And we're about to do the video that I said that we would film maybe about, what, like 6 months ago. Our last video that we did for our real couple talk, we were talking about sex and kids and marriage and all that good stuff. So I said I was going to follow it with like a short video about being an interracial couple and things that we go through and face and all that jazz. So let's get started. I got my trusty little book. All right, so I kind of summed up a lot of the questions that I've gotten, and even like certain comments, especially early on when we first started YouTube, and I never kind of compiled it. So now I did, and I tried to sum it up into 4 types of sections, I guess you would call it. So first off, culturally, if you don't know, I can't tell, I'm black.
And so am I.
Shut up.
And I am Filipino and white.
Okay, so you would tell like your...
Okay, well, I'm Filipino.
No, your mom is...
Oh, my mom is Filipino.
Yeah.
And my dad is white.
And his dad's white. And so my parents are just both black. Now there's some other stuff running in there. Y'all know all my business. Usually because of the Lopez, people think I have Spanish in me, and I'm like, whatever. Okay, so you want to talk about your culture differences? Like, I guess you want to talk about your Filipino culture, or?
Well, okay, you know, as far as like the Filipino, because my dad's a truck driver, so he was always on the road. So pretty much it was my mom a lot of the time, you know, raising us and bringing us to parties and doing events and stuff. So we hung out with Filipino side a lot more, and plus my Filipino side is bigger. My family is bigger. So as far as cultural differences, you know, it's funny because I've heard a lot of times from different people, they say that Filipinos are like the black people of like the Pacific, just because a lot of they do have a lot of actual cultural